Hey everybody, Kurt from TunedUpLife.com here. It's day 6 of Restart Your Resolution 2017. Until today, we have focused 100% on the internal aspects of your resolution, the things that happen inside of us. We have reconnected with the dream. We have done some quality control on the actual resolution statement that you have. We dredged up a whole bunch of bad stuff. We thought of what horrible things could happen if you did not complete your resolution. And then we turned the tables and thought about all of the good things that could happen. Today, we switched to things outside of us because that's where resolutions succeed or fail, in the real world. Have you had this problem or one similar to it? This year, you've resolved no desserts, 100% not going to touch them. And you go out to dinner with some friends and dessert time comes. You say, hey, no desserts for me. I resolved this year, I'm skipping dessert. And then 10 minutes later, you find yourself halfway through the biggest piece of cheesecake that you have ever seen. And you're enjoying it. Or maybe this one. You've decided that you're exercising 4 mornings a week at 6 a.m. Tomorrow morning is one of those days. You meet some friends after work, one drink leads to another, and somehow the guys convince you that it's a good idea to stay out until 2 a.m. By the time you get up, 6 a.m. has come and gone. There's no time for the workout. You've got to get to work. If you've had any of those types of problems, you have experienced what it's like to have a resolution that is not street smart. A street smart resolution is a resolution with a plan for dealing with those things that will come up. Those things that you can anticipate. The people who will throw you off. The situations who will throw you off. The schedule changes. If your resolution is street smart, you will have a plan in place so that when those come up, you just follow your plan step by step by step, and the problem is averted. There's a reason that our resolutions need to be street smart. And that is because not 100% of our resolution slip-ups are of our own doing. Other people are often involved. Other situations are often involved. It's good to keep in mind that just because we have resolved to do something, our friends, our families, our kids, our spouses, the advertising industry have not necessarily resolved to help us succeed in our resolutions. In my experience, 3 of the most common sources of trouble are, and these are the things that you need to street smart your resolution for, are number 1, friends, family, and other people. Number 2, changing schedules. And number 3, the 3-headed monster of habit, tradition, and nostalgia. I'll run through these 3 common sources of trouble pretty quickly here. The truth is, I could talk about these all day and be super excited about it. But I will spare you. I'll put a little extra information in the email. So definitely check there if you still have questions. And if you have questions beyond that, email me, kurt@tuneduplife.com. Here we go. The 3 causes of trouble that you should street smart your resolution for. Number 1, friends, family, and other people. It is a truism that humans do not like change. As a human, I'm going to like change even less if it is your change that is impacting my status quo or my entrenched way of doing things. When we make a change, the change is for us, but the change ripples out to other people and it influences our status quo. We have an established way of doing things with other people. And when we start to change that up, people can resist. It may be active, it may be passive, it may be completely subconscious, but it can be there. And we have to make our resolutions street smart for these people who show some resistance to our resolution. Remember, they're not bad people, they're not trying to hurt us. We are putting something in their court that we want to do. And so we have to be the ones to come up with a solution for it. If you anticipate needing to street smart your resolution against friends, family, or other people, here are 3 things you can try. Number 1, before there's a problem, employ the person to be on your team. Tell them what you're up to and ask for your support and ask them to keep you in line. That may solve the problem right there. If it doesn't, number 2 is avoid the person in certain situations. Is it only sometimes that being around this person causes a problem for your resolution? If it is, see if you can just avoid them, schedule around those types of situations. Often it's easy to do. And number 3 is bring backup. If there's somebody that you need to or want to be around who makes your resolution difficult, make sure you are surrounded or accompanied by a person or persons who know what you're up to and who are supporting you, and they can be on your side. If you can outnumber the person who's causing a problem, the problem very well may disappear. Number 2, changing schedules. Family, work, weather, lots of things can cause us to change our schedule over the course of a day. And this can play havoc with a resolution, especially when it's young. Because often, to make sure that we adhere to a resolution, we schedule it into the day. And then the schedule changes, and if we miss that resolution, there's a chance that we won't come back to it. And once you miss, it's easier to miss again. I'm going to give you one first step toward dealing with this, and I'll put some more ideas in the email. But that first step is think about the things that could cause you to change your schedule and prioritize them, because there is a good chance that some things will require you to temporarily abandon that resolution for a minute, an hour, or a day. And some things, you should abandon those in order to do your resolution at that time. So that would be number 1, is prioritize and know what you're up against. Number 3, the 3-headed monster of habit, tradition, and nostalgia. This one is so tough, and to illustrate it, I'd like to tell the story of my father-in-law and his efforts to quit smoking. My father-in-law was a really strong guy. When he set his mind to something, it almost always happened, and happened very quickly. But for years, he struggled with quitting smoking. And over the years, as I watched him, I realized that he had one thing that tripped him up every single day. He could go through the entire day without a cigarette, seemingly not even thinking about it. But when he did this one thing, he had a cigarette. And that was sitting by the river, looking out, relaxing at the end of the day or after lunch. For more than 50 years, he did that same thing. He sat by the river, had a cigarette, and decompressed. Those things were so tied together that he could not break the bond between them. And it was tough to see. I saw him go light a cigarette, get mad at himself, throw it down and stomp it out, and then 2 minutes later light another one and smoke it. That kind of stuff happens to all of us. We have things that are tied to other things, and when our resolution infringes on one of those, it is really tough. I'm going to talk about this a little bit more in the email, but the number 1 thing you can do, and it's not fun and it's not easy, is to avoid those high trigger situations. Those situations that make you want to do the behavior that you're trying to avoid. That is the simplest, and it's not so simple, but that is the simplest thing that you can do. Avoid those high trigger situations. And there you have it, the basics of how to street smart your resolution. Today, do it. You don't have to do it for everything. Pick 5 things. It could be a person, it could be a place, it could be a situation, it could be an emotion. Whatever it is that you know is going to rear its ugly head and be a roadblock at some point as you work on your resolution, figure out a plan for it and figure it out in very fine detail. This is one of those situations where you're not going to make it up on the fly. If you have to stop to think, you have lost. You have to recognize the situation and put the plan into practice ASAP without a second's hesitation. If you hesitate, you've probably lost. So do that today. Pick 5 things that could cause a problem and street smart against those 5 problems. See the email for more information, and good job. You've come a long way. We're getting to the end. I'm so proud of you, and I'm so excited that this is going to be the year that you succeed with this resolution. See you tomorrow. Remember, life is good, and a tuned up life is better.